to Contemporary Black Voices in our Hot Topics section. Before we get started on our hot topics, I want to recognize our producer, Mr. Carl Booker, who has been instrumental on pulling this show together. Also, we invite you guys to put in comments related to the hot topics so that we can interact with you. And then finally, also, we want you to like and subscribe not only our hot topics section, but go back to our Contemporary Black Voices show this morning and give us your thumbs up as well. So, our first topic, O.J. Simpson's passing. Now, I'm going to talk about O.J. from the positive realm, but I am also going to say that the main media just couldn't let him die, rest in peace. They had to call him the murder suspect. But I don't remember him as the murder suspect because he was found innocent. And I remember seeing him in those Hertz commercials, running through the airport, jumping over suitcases. I remember him in movies. I remember him playing football. That's the O.J. I remember. And I remember him looking happier with his first wife, who was Black. And it was drama-free, and it seemed like all his drama happened after the fact. So how did O.J.'s passing, what do you remember about him?
O.J. was, for me, as a football player, he was a great football player. Mm-hmm. But O.J. had a lot of complications to his life. And O.J., kind of like a Tiger Woods before him, or after him, O.J., I think, always identified with white folks. And by identifying with white folks, that eventually is what got him into trouble. But what got him out of trouble was the Black folks who were on the jury and the different things like that. We came to his rescue and basically saved him. For the record, for me, there was no evidence to find O.J. guilty. Mm-hmm. However, in my back of my mind, I kind of feel that O.J. had something to do with it. Maybe he wasn't the actual killer himself, but he had something to do with it. And I was hoping, and we still don't know yet, but that he would have left something to be able to say what he's done. But the Bronco, which is back now, but Chevrolet had quit making the Broncos because of O.J. There were a lot of things that happened with O.J. that just fueled a lot of conversation, black and white, just all kind of stuff with O.J.
Now, I'm thinking that I remember we were in Georgia for a family reunion when we were sitting in front of the TV watching the Bronco go down the highway. And we were sitting there eating and drinking and eating and drinking, oohing and ahhing. To me, that whole Bronco chase probably was the start of reality TV.
Sure. Rare. Because I think even after that, Caitlin, what was his name? Cato? Was it Cato?
Cato something?
Yeah. Anyway, I think he had a reality show, didn't he, afterward?
To
me, that helped cable out quite a bit because there was no court TV before that. All of these things, the Marsha Clark and what they did, all of them, no matter what side they were on,
they made money afterwards.
All of them became famous, being involved in the O.J. stuff. The question I asked you offline was, would the Kardashians be the Kardashians without O.J.?
Well, it's that big question mark is, who is,
Chloe?
Chloe's daddy. They supposedly, what's his name? The mama supposedly had a tete-a-tete with him in the pool. Oh. So we don't know. But I think that O.J. has a timestamp on a lot of people's memories. And for us, we were able to see him, the fun O.J., the successful O.J., but we also saw O.J. when he started having problems. But Rest in peace, OJ.
Well, let me ask this before you put a bow on this. I'm wondering if the Ron Goldman family and the Nicole Simpson family will go after the estate of OJ for more money, because they said, I forget how many millions they were supposed to get in the civil case. However, they said they only got about $100,000 out of the whole thing. So the question becomes is, will OJ's memory really die with OJ, or will these folks continue to keep him in the news?
I think they're going to keep him in the news to get to. And this is going to be a money grab. So I hope that his offspring lawyer up, because they're coming after that money. They're going to come after that money, and I hope they find a lawyer that knows how to handle this estate challenge that they're going to have.
That's going to happen.
Okay. So next, now before we get started deep into this discussion, the fact checkers have already revealed themselves that everything that we're going to discuss did not happen. So I'm going to say it like this. Supposedly, Vladimir Putin opened up the vaults in Russia and presented artifacts of Black Israelites, supposedly a Black Jesus, saying that we need to start following Black Jesus. And I found it interesting that the fact checkers jumped on that like stink on you know what, saying that's not true. He didn't say that. He didn't say that. The vaults never opens. So the fact checkers were really having a field day showing that he didn't say that. But the question is, anytime we bring up Black Jesus, Black Cleopatra, Black Hannibal, just black. The main media, they lose their mind. So why is that?
Well, it's really very interesting because back in, I can't remember what year it was, but I think it was the mid 60s or late 60s. Ebony Magazine ran a story about Black Jesus, and they put a picture of Black Jesus in the Ebony Magazine. Black folks went crazy because of having Black Jesus. You know, that's not the way Jesus looked, according to them, and there was a problem. So when you go, I believe, to the Vatican, I'm only repeating what I've heard, that they have a vault that shows the Messiah was Black. So now what you're saying is that Putin has said that Jesus was Black. If you look at the times of Jesus, the region from which Jesus came, and read the biblical descriptions of Jesus, he definitely would be Black. But however, I think Black folks don't want him. There's a good number of Black folks who don't want him to be Black, as well as the white folks who begin to say, well, you know, Jesus was multi-ethnic. Okay. When you bring up that he's Black, they never said anything about it when they saw him as white. Okay. They never said he was multi-ethnic then. But when you say he's Black, then they say, well, no, he's everything.
And the pictures that were shown on the internet, those were some beautiful pictures of Black biblical figures. And so we already know that Putin has a vault. The Vatican, they got a bigger vault. And let's just go ahead and say over there in Buckingham Palace, there's a huge vault. In fact, Queen Elizabeth proved that Queen Charlotte, the Queen Charlotte that a lot of us have seen in Bridgerton, she was Black. And so it's kind of like nobody wants to see us in powers of authority.
Let me ask this question. Why should it matter?
The only reason why it shouldn't matter because...
No, should matter.
Okay, it should matter is because once we come to a realization as to what people look like in the past, I think that we can move forward as a society in meeting the needs of society. This whole anti-DEI movement really is a spin-off of of truths that white supremacy has trying to suppress. But Putin opened that vault, and look at these pictures. In fact, last week, Pope Victor, I think, Pope Victor was one of the first black popes, African popes, and he was the one that established when Easter would happen. But you don't hear about that. In fact, you don't even think about the idea that there were not one, but possibly 3 black popes. We don't hear that. So these pictures that we're looking at right here, these are absolutely amazing.
They are.
Absolutely amazing.
They are.
And why wouldn't we exist? But we have to also remember also that race is a social construct that probably did not really exist back then, but it does exist now.
Well, let's stick a pin in it there. And that's why I say it matters. It did not matter, okay, to black folks really, because it should not matter to the human race. And it should be kind of what white people maybe say that it is that Jesus should be somewhat multi-ethnic. However, from where he was born and what we were taught through slavery and so forth, always had Jesus as looking as being a white man.
Blue eyes, blonde hair.
Right. So when you talk about the social construct and Jesus looking to be white and us praying to a white man, that becomes a problem. That's where the problem, and that's why it matters, is because we, in our minds, psychologically, have always looked at Jesus as a white man. And I think when we begin to look at Jesus in a different light, in a different skin color, then we begin to change our minds as well as to how we see the world and who we pray to. We, as black, are probably the only race on the face of the earth that prays to a deity that does not look like us.
There's a series on, is it a movie or a series? Anyway, on Netflix is the Testament of Moses. And if you haven't seen it, you need to look at it. But to me, that was part of more realistic imaging of what people look like around that time. Even Moses' wife was black. I mean, she was black. Sephora, I think is her name. She was black. Her father was really black. But if you look at the 10 Commandments, the one with Charlton Heston, everybody was white. They were black skin. They were black, almost blackface in there. But the reality is that no, race should not matter. Back then, it didn't matter. But when the colonizers started going into these communities, they put the evidence of these officials, these persons, in a vault.
Close your eyes and think about what it would have looked like if back in the biblical time that Jesus would have been white, and what type of effect that would have had on the black race that was there. They probably would have looked on that as almost being blasphemy, that you would see a white man in a predominantly black area of the world.
So
that would be shocking.
Yeah. So when Caleb gets back, I got a question for him. Caleb's in Italy, in the Tuscany area around Rome and everything. And he has posted some beautiful pictures on Facebook. But a question I'm going to ask him that I want him to answer, all those pictures, was there an image of a black man? Or did it matter? Because all I'm seeing look like white men down there in Italy. But I want to know whether or not there were any imaging down there of black people. Now, probably in the vault at the Vatican, yeah, they're down there.
Yeah, and I've heard that they're down there, and I've known Greg Jackson who says he's been there and he's actually seen them. They're not actually, I don't think, out on display, but they're in a secured vault somehow. So
How did Greg get in it?
no.
Okay. So our next topic, you got anything else you want to say on
No, I'm
this?
good.
Okay. So the squatter situation in the United States. Yeah, they got squatters. They've got squatters' rights. So you were telling me that you had a situation with a squatter.
Oh yeah, my wife's father's home locally here. We've been trying to get the estate settled for 3 years, and the house has been vacant. Everything was out of the house. We got a call from the police one day saying that the neighbors were complaining because somebody had went into the house. They had renters in the house, but somebody else was selling to the renters and collecting rent off of the property. Now we're right here in town. We don't know anything about this. So somebody somehow said they had this house, rented it to another third party, and was collecting money off of it. How that happened, I don't know.
So we're seeing a lot of issues here, especially, I'm going to say in New York, where we have Venezuelan migrants. I'm going to call them illegal immigrants, okay? This is called what they are. They're moving into these buildings and taking over and literally trashing out the place. One Venezuelan was a YouTuber or a TikToker encouraging the migrants to find places and squat. Now, it was interesting. They're not only going for the low-end homes, they're also hitting the multi-million-dollar homes as well. Because there was a black woman who was in the military who was overseas, and she comes home and finds out there was a squatter in her $500,000 plus home in Atlanta.
Right.
And it took her some time to get that squatter out. So this squatter situation aligns too perfectly with the migrant situation. And I haven't seen the situation as much, and I'm an HOA president, but I'm also with that in mind. I'm driving up and down the streets in our neighborhood, seeing if we have any abandoned homes, seeing if anybody knows what's going on, hoping that it's being sold or is it an Airbnb. But these squatters feel that they have rights, and they're not even American citizens. A lot of these squatters are illegal migrants saying they got rights.
Well, I think that everybody, wherever you are in the country, you should be at least calling and asking what the laws are regarding squatting. You may think that right now it's not anything that you should be concerned about, but I sure didn't think I would be affected by this. With my wife's father, my father-in-law being deceased and his home being vacant and having squatters in that particular home. What scares me most is the laws that I hear about in the state of New York or possibly some of these other states that give the squatters more rights than it gives to the owner of the property. And it's too late to find out that there's a problem with the laws in your country after the squatter has taken place. I also had squatters. I own a piece of property in Jamaica, and I had squatters there doing basically the same thing. They were trying to claim the land, and I had to go over there and get them off the land and do all kind of different things. But it's a serious problem all around the world, and you better know what your laws are.
Texas has a cowboy type law where they're saying that squatting is considered trespassing, and Texans have a different way of dealing with issues. So what's going to happen is people are going to start getting seriously hurt behind the squatting issue. And as a homeowner, the idea of someone taking a house that I have worked hard to get, almost pay off, and then someone comes in and take over the house. And they also are selling off. They'll take over the house, but they also are selling off your property as well.
Yeah, you got to be very careful with the deed, how the deed reads, and there are people probably in a situation like I was in with my father-in-law, where they could come and make claim to the deed and possibly sell your house, and you not even know it. There's all kind of schemes going on out there, doctor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So squatters are here, and I hope that instead of anti-DEIing it, write laws to protect American citizens against squatters and not have what they call squatters' rights. No, no, no. You need to start working on protecting tax-paying citizens.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, do you have anything else you want to talk about today?
Fred, get well.
Caleb, you're going to be doing a show about Italy. And with that being said, we want to thank you for listening to Hot Topics. Again, we want to encourage you to make comments. And also, if you haven't done so already, subscribe and hit the like button. And with that, we want to say have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.